Hi again, Nancy Morris with day 2 of National Procrastination Week. It's Tuesday, March 7th, and I wanted to share a little bit more with you about the benefits of procrastination, what it is, what it isn't, and how you can use procrastination to get things done. Yep, get things done. It's a perspective that you probably haven't heard before. So today in particular, I'm going to ask you to suspend your disbelief and just listen carefully with an open mind and preferably a pen and paper. I'm the author of Procrastinate Now, Rethinking Time Management, which is available at Amazon and Kobo and some other retailers. But by the end of the week, you'll know how you can get a copy of the book for yourself for free. And you'll be able to share that information with other people as well. So a little bit more about me, because in yesterday's video, I didn't explain too much about me. But as I say, I'm very interested in subjects like procrastination. My expertise is in something known as business psychology. I've been studying the science of psychology now for over 25 years, and I'm really interested in how business and psychology come together, or don't, because sometimes they just don't. To me, business psychology in a nutshell is about how work impacts an individual and how an individual impacts work. I look at things, study, research, and share information about things like motivation, decision-making, problem-solving, office conflict, self-direction, resilience, optimism, positive emotions, negative emotions, etc., and all of these things in a business context. So for me, procrastination is a subject that's really key here in business. And that's because we know from research in organizational psychology and other businessologies that just about every employee will procrastinate somewhere between an hour and 2 every workday. So that's really somewhere between 10 and 20 or 12.5 and 25% of somebody's salary is being wasted because of procrastination. Now, I'm doing this because to me, as I mentioned yesterday, and will really mention quite a lot today, procrastination is a wonderful thing. So I don't think of procrastination as a waste. But because most people don't know how to use procrastination, particularly employers, don't know how to use procrastination to actually get things done. They don't know how to use procrastination to build systems that help people to get their work done and do it with more confidence and consistency. That's why it's time that ends up being wasted. Not because it needs to be, but just because people don't know how to use it. So my book is all about how to use it, what it is, and how to use it. So I want to just recap a little bit from yesterday. Yesterday I gave you some examples and shared with you the 3 primary types of procrastinators. That is the arousal type procrastinator who thinks mistakenly that, oh, they really like the buzz and the adrenaline of the last minute stuff. There is a real problem with that mindset, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but imagine for a second that if that's the way you did pretty much everything, not only would you be becoming exhausted in the way that you did stuff, but really your work would ultimately become substandard because you cannot maintain that all the time, nor are you ever always going to have the flexibility to manage and control your time in such a way that you're going to get everything done. So you may think, okay, I've got 5 hours to get this project done and I'm going to get it done. What happens if something happens in hour 3 and you've run out of time? Your project doesn't get done, your work suffers. If you own your own business, your business suffers. You risk running into all sorts of problems as an employee with your boss or whatever. So there's some real errors in thinking around being an arousal type procrastinator or someone who really enjoys the adrenaline of last minute things. So it's a really common excuse for procrastination or common explanation for one's procrastinating behavior, but it's really one of the least effective ways to behave. But I'm not going to go too much into that because what most people are familiar with is the other 2 types of procrastinator, which is the behavioral avoidant type who distracts themselves away by overscheduling themselves, or, getting on the phone and chit-chatting for too long, or hanging around the water cooler, or, oh, squirrel, finding something else to do. Behavioral avoidant type. And the other type, as mentioned, was the decisional procrastinator, someone who gives themselves so many options for what they could do that they get stuck in picking an option. So paralysis by analysis. Also, as I mentioned yesterday, there are times where delaying a decision is a smart cognitive strategy for using the creative side of your brain to come up with a solution to a problem. And you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to mull this over until Friday. It only becomes procrastination if it comes to Friday, and then you decide that you're not going to make the decision, and you put it off for another week, and maybe another week, etc., etc. So some delay, very smart cognitive strategy. If you keep delaying, then it falls back into the definition of procrastination, the standard definition of procrastination. So that kind of mulling delay is not procrastination, and it's fine. The other type that we mentioned yesterday was this idea of the difference between procrastination and preference. Not everything has to be done right now. In fact, not everything can. In any given moment, you're provided with a lot of different choices to make. Am I going to do this or that or that over there? Or am I going to read this? Am I going to look at this website? Am I going to analyze this piece of information that way or that way? So you are put in a position where you make a choice, and you make a choice to prefer one thing over another. So that's not procrastination either. In your heart of hearts, if you prefer A over B, fine, own it. Prefer A over B and do A. That's absolutely fine. The problem has occurred where people have this global definition of that any delay is procrastination, and that is incorrect. So now grab that pen and paper I asked you to bring along with you today, because I'm going to give you the real definition of procrastination. And I'm going to repeat this twice because I want you to write it down really quick, but I'm going to repeat it twice, and then I want you just to think about it for a moment. And think about, I haven't heard this before, or maybe you have, but probably you have not. And then also, geez, that makes a lot of sense. When you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. So rather than procrastination being all delay, the real definition of procrastination is putting off a behavior or not taking an action knowing it's going to have a negative outcome for you. So procrastination is delaying an action or putting off an action, not choosing to do a behavior, even though you know it's going to have a negative outcome for you. It's the negative outcome piece that makes it procrastination. As I said, delay, just putting something off because you prefer A over B, there's no negative outcome, so it's not procrastination. Now, when you think about that for a moment, you can see how in the past, and because people have lots of things that they want to sell you to, time management techniques and different systems that you can buy and blah, 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 and all these different sorts of things. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but there's a plethora of stuff out there to help you stop procrastinating, even though we've been talking about procrastination since Socrates. So because people have thrown every inaction into the barrel of procrastination, then whenever you're not doing anything, it becomes procrastination, and you think it's a really bad behavior. You think it's a really bad habit, and it's not. Because not only has procrastination been misidentified to date, it also is not what you think it is. People think procrastination is a personality flaw, a really bad habit, a loss of control, or whatever it is. What if we looked at procrastination as being something different? And this is a part that I also want you to write down and give good consideration to. Think for a moment, when you have a fever, what is it telling you? So you've got a fever, but what does that mean? A fever is indicating the underlying problem of an infection. So a fever tells you you have an infection, and you want to solve the problem of the infection. Yes, you would like the fever to be minimized, but really the big problem is the infection. And so you want to get rid of the infection. Fever is a signal of the infection. So let me ask you this. What if you thought of your procrastination then similar to being a fever? What if procrastination was your signal to you that there's something underneath that that's causing you a concern or a fear? What if procrastination was the symptom of the underlying problem rather than the problem itself. What if you took a viewpoint like that? Well, having shared this concept already with hundreds, if not thousands of people in my corporate client bunch, sorry, I've lost my train of thought there, but with all my corporate clients over the years, having shared this with them, I know what happens to them. First off, they get a sense of relief, because what they begin to understand is that procrastination is actually a sign of intelligence. It is your sixth sense. It is your higher levels of thinking going, hang on here a minute, there's something about this that I don't like. What is it that I don't like? What is it about this task that causes me concern or fear? And then they figure out what to do to minimize that concern or fear. They set up new systems or new ways of doing something or a new way of thinking about it so that they end up doing the task more consistently and more frequently in future with a sense of almost gusto. It's like, oh, look, here I am procrastinating. Oh, what's this about? Isn't this interesting? Rather than, oh, geez, I'm procrastinating again. Oh, I'm such a bad person, or whatever else is that people will often think to themselves. So I'm going to share with you now some of those underlying concerns that people will often have in their more subconscious part of their brain that becomes this procrastinating behavior, either, the behavioral avoiding things or the decisional procrastination or even the arousal type procrastination. Some of the underlying concerns could be something like the task that's been put on your desk or the thing that you feel you need to do, it's not even relevant for you. It could be somebody else's goal and they've sort of just plunked it on your desk and you look at it and go, oh, that really has nothing to do with me. So it ends up sitting on your desk. What if you don't like or trust or respect the person that's giving you the task? Now, how often does that happen in an office? Geez, I wonder. So you don't like or trust or respect the person who's giving you the task. How quickly are you going to get it done? It almost becomes a way of getting your own back on that person. So it sits on the side of your desk. People identify it as procrastination, and even you might identify it as procrastination. But your higher levels of thinking are signaling you, I don't like this person. I don't want to do this. So, it's just going to sit on the corner of your desk. What if you don't fully understand what the objective is? So you're given a task, or there's a task that you need to do. Say you own your own business, there's a task you need to do, but you don't fully understand what the objective is, or there's no sense of meaning for you around it. So you're puzzled, you're not sure how. You push it off to the side of your desk. But the more common ones are things like this. When you feel that you're going to be judged for the work that you do, so you create your document, you do your report, whatever it happens to be, and you know you have to send it along to somebody else. You know it's going to be judged. And perhaps that causes you some concern. An example from the work that I do, I am frequently sending out requests for proposal or answering requests for proposal from companies that I want to do business with. Sometimes the numbers are quite large. Sometimes the project is quite large. I know that when I send my document off, somebody's going to judge it. Now, originally, I would hover over that send button for quite a period of time. But then it became apparent, okay, I'm concerned I'm going to be judged. I was able to reframe that whole process in my mind. So now it's a matter of hitting the send button and off it goes. I know it's going to be judged. And whatever, it's going to be judged. Sometimes it's going to be judged positively and sometimes it's not. And that's just the way that it goes. But it was a reframe in my brain that helped me to move beyond that. Another thing is if you don't feel confident in your ability to do the task or even just a part of the task, maybe there's 27 pieces to this particular task, and you're concerned about whether or not you can actually do step 22. Well, guess what? You'll probably stop at step 5. So you're not even going to get anywhere near close to step 22. And the reason is you don't want to show yourself that you're incompetent. Adults are wonderful people, but we have egos, and it's really tough sometimes to have that little ego bruised or damaged because you're stuck with a bit of work that you don't know how to do. But one of the more important things that can cause us to procrastinate, remember, procrastination is a signal to you from your sixth sense that something isn't quite right for you. And for many people, particularly in certain types of jobs, They will often hesitate, delay, or avoid doing a task that they feel goes against who they feel they are as a person. It goes against their core values. It goes against who they want to be in the world. And when that happens, you need to pay attention to it. If that's the underlying reason for your procrastination, you need to pay attention to it. You have two choices. You can choose to do the thing that is going against your core values, but do it knowing it's going against your core values. That minimizes some of the negative experience of it. Or you can choose not to do it. One of the two. There isn't really much of a middle ground on that one. So let me just quickly summarize again. Procrastination being not doing a task or delaying an activity or an action or behavior, knowing it's going to have a negative outcome for you. That's what procrastination is. Not every avoiding task is procrastination. It's only procrastination if you know it has a negative outcome for you. Now, why would you avoid something when you know it has a negative outcome for you? Because procrastination is like a fever. It is the symptom of an underlying problem. Your sixth sense is telling you that there's something about this that's not quite right for you. And the primary things that will cause you concern or fear are it's not relevant to you. It's not a goal or a task that you would do. It's just been plunked down in front of you. You're not clear on the objectives or perhaps how to do it. You don't like, trust, or respect the person who's given you the task. You're concerned that you're going to be judged. It's sort of like a performance anxiety. Somebody's going to score me. I'm going to get judged somehow. Or you're going to be shown that you're not competent in something. Perhaps you don't have confidence in the task. And quite importantly, it's going against one of your core values. So that's the real definition of procrastination and the primary underlying fears or concerns that would cause you to not take a behavior. If you remember that procrastination is in fact a behavior, it is on the spectrum of action. It's the inaction side of it. So there's action and there's inaction. There's doing something and there's procrastination. It is a behavior. And all behaviors have an underlying thought or feeling. Remember that when we're talking about procrastination. It is your sixth sense. It is your intelligence that something's not quite right for you. And when you understand that and you start saying to yourself, oh, look, I'm procrastinating about this task. What's bothering me? You all of a sudden create opportunities to create new systems and perspectives and ways of doing things that help you to move through the fear or concern. I have shared this concept with individuals, small businesses, large businesses, sales teams, all sorts of different professions and industries for a number of years now. And when I see what happens to somebody's face when they are given permission to recognize that their procrastination is their intelligence, and then B, given an avenue by which they can use that intelligence to create more self-awareness and create more opportunities for longer-term solutions and more consistent work productivity. It's just a sense of relief and satisfaction that people get. And I really want for you to get that today. I really want for you to understand that procrastination is not a bad thing for you. It is a signal to you that something's not quite right. It's something you can embrace. It's something you can use to create more productivity and more consistent productivity for you. And if you're a boss, if you manage people, you can help them to understand what's going on for themselves. Or as a really good boss, you look at the systems in your business and say, oh, where do we need to change things here? Maybe I'm really judgmental and people are concerned about that, so they don't do what I'm asking them to do. I mean, just think about what could happen in your organization, whether you're the employee or the manager or owner of that organization. If that was a sort of environment that you had, which was let's look at what's going on here with the individuals. Let's see how we can make things work more productively for people, and using their actual behavior, which procrastination is, as the key, as the ticket for finding out what systems, what perspectives, what culture we need to have. Just imagine what would happen, because I've seen it happen. That's why I wrote this book, because I am, as I said yesterday, I'm tired of people feeling bad about themselves because they procrastinate. It's a wonderful tool that you have inbuilt within you that signals you that something's not quite right, and you can use it, you can run with it, and you can make things happen when you fully understand what it is. As you can tell, I get quite passionate about all of this because I've seen both the bad side of how people think about procrastination, and I've seen the good side. And I'll tell you, the good side is really pretty special when people really embrace this idea. So on tomorrow's video, what I'm going to share with you are some of the ways that you can minimize some of those fears and concerns, or ways that you can create the systems or the new perspective so that those concerns and fears can be more easily managed for you. Now, procrastination is something you will always do. I study procrastination, and I still procrastinate. But when I do, it's like, oh, something's going on here. What is it? Sometimes it's one of those things on the list. Sometimes it's many of the things on the list. And also something that I didn't procrastinate about last week, I might procrastinate about this week. And that's because I'm a different person, as are you. I'm a different person this week. Maybe I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and all of a sudden I'm feeling, not very confident or a little edgy or something along those lines. So procrastination is never going to go away. Don't think it will. That's why it's so important that you stop worrying about stopping procrastination, and you recognize it as something that you can use to your advantage. So, and later in the week, I'm also going to share with you one key strategy that I use that helps people really understand more about themselves. One of the fundamental tenets of my business is that the more you know about yourself, the more likely it is that you're going to make the choices and decisions to create the success you want, however you choose to define it. For me, procrastination is like the #1 ticket to that self-awareness, because not only do you get to see what your fears and concerns are at any given time, you also get to ask yourself, what can I do to minimize those fears and concerns? So it's kind of a wonderful little package that you give yourself when you procrastinate. And we're going to look at that a little bit more on Thursday. And then on Friday, I'm going to wrap a few things up, put a little bit more tips and ideas in here, and also share with you how you can get a copy of my book for free. And if in the meantime you want to grab it from Amazon or Chapters, Kobo, or somewhere along those lines, or one of the other online retailers, feel free, go ahead. But later in the week, I will share with you how you can get it for free. Anyway, so we've been going for about 20 minutes now. Take the information that you have, consider it. Don't dismiss it right off the bat if you're thinking about dismissing it. Share it with somebody else. I asked you to do that yesterday. I encourage you to do that again today. Talk with them about it. If you love this idea that procrastination is your sixth sense, then share that definitely with somebody else today and talk about it. Talk about the different ways that you procrastinate about different things this week or this day or whatever it happens to be. And share the information, because it is something I want everybody to understand. So please do share that information. Of course, if you have any questions or comments or anything along those lines, feel free to leave them as a comment below, and I will get to them as quickly as I can, or send me a private message, or even send me an email at Nancy@NancyMorris.com, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions. In any event, have a great Tuesday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks very much.